explain, when a march or a protest is happening, the police have to be informed, and then do they have any choice whatsoever in whether they do or don't fund, or whether they do or don't provide police officers to line the route?
Quite simply, they don't have a choice in the matter because, of course, the police are there to keep the king's peace, to prevent crime and ensure that order is kept as much as they possibly can. So responsible people who hold marches do, of course, discuss with the police where it will begin, any proposed route, and sometimes the police quite firmly will lay down the law about where a route will go, when they can gather, the timings and the such like. And generally speaking, these pro-Palestine marches have been organised with the cooperation from the police and the protesters working together. But of course, we've increasingly seen at the end of many of the marches, they've fallen into disarray. There's been criminality. There, of course, has been criminality during the marches, and they are ongoing investigations a lot of the time to try and identify the perpetrators. So a huge amount of police time, effort, resources, and consequently money is going into the entire policing of these events.
Well, I live in London, pretty near central London, so I've seen with my own eyes, first of all, the number of coaches rolling in, huge numbers of coaches, I think largely coming from the north of England, but actually coming from all over the United Kingdom, and they have to be dealt with, because where are they meant to park, what's supposed to happen to them? Then huge numbers of people being disgorged onto the streets of London from the coaches, and then hours and hours later, I mean, around, I've seen with my own eyes, around 10, even 11 o'clock at night, these coaches still clogging up the arteries of London, and then people having to be escorted back onto them so that they can depart. And that's just the coaches. That's not fights, that's not law breaking, that's not anything. That's just kind of pure admin to keep the streets of London relatively fast moving. However, I've also seen many streets blocked off, cordoned off because of marches further and further outside London because of the sheer influx of people. I mean, we've had marches, haven't we, pro-Palestinian marches with 300,000 or more people marching. So the number of police required to kind of facilitate this, to keep the peace, to make arrests if there's not peace, to keep the traffic flowing. I mean, it's just prodigious, isn't it? The amount of effort, money and resources that have to be ploughed in.
It's a vast operation. And as the Assistant Commissioner, Matt Twist, alluded to today, often they've had to call on police officers from outside the Met because the Met hasn't had enough of its own officers. So there have been coachloads of police officers shunted around the country to bring them into London. They have to be put up in hotels and fed, yet adding even more expense to the policing bill. And so it goes on and on. The frequency of these marches, I think, is entirely unprecedented in that they are occurring Saturday after Saturday after Saturday. And in January, there is going to be another huge challenge for the police, because by some quirk of fate, almost every single professional football club in London has been drawn to play their matches in the third round of the FA Cup at their home grounds. And of course, London has a lot of professional football clubs. So we will find the police, should there be another pro-Palestine march over that weekend, and inevitably there will be, calling on yet more police officers from Wales, from Yorkshire, from Cleveland and the like, all to be bussed in, all to be kept in very expensive accommodation, and the bill keeps rising.
And yet, Peter, the bill, the cost, is never cited, is it, as a reason to consider saying, well, actually, you know, you marched last week and the week before and the week before that. In fact, you've marched every week for 9 weeks or however long it is. So there isn't a march this weekend. You know, we can't afford it. It's not to happen. Maybe wait 2 or 3 more weeks, then do another one. That never happens. The finances don't enter into the proposition of a march, do they?
They really don't, because the police cannot use the finances of these marches as a reason to apply to the Home Secretary to ban them, for example. There simply isn't that kind of allowance within the law, within the Public Order Act. It has to be only if there is a threat of severe violence or other criminality. So yes, the bill for all of this just doesn't enter into it. But there is, of course, another very human cost to taking thousands of police officers away from their regular duties. And that is those officers' caseloads of cases that they need to investigate in order to try and catch perpetrators and provide a service to victims of crime is simply not happening on the weekends when these officers get pulled away. So unfortunate consequence, a very human cost, is victims of other serious crimes not receiving the service they deserve.